Hello friends, and welcome to the second week of the semester. Today we're looking at our first Doctrinal Mastery lesson of the year, but it's way in the back in the appendix, lesson 164. This is the foundations of Doctrinal Mastery. We're in the middle of the year, but we're starting fresh with the Doctrine and Covenants, and this is a new curriculum, so we'll be approaching it a little bit differently. And so I want to review that quickly with you. This is we're looking at the Doctrinal Mastery training document. I'll put a link in the description below so you can look at this more detailed if you'd like. But our outcomes are essentially the same. You can pause and look at this. This is what we're trying to do, the same as before, but the curriculum is going to approach it with three different ways. Some introductory lessons, some lessons where the Doctrinal Mastery passages will be taught just in context in the Doctrine and Covenants, and then some special practice lessons. So we'll have three different types. The first one is what we're doing today with this lesson. There's 5 of these, and so we'll spread these out, but at the beginning of the year, we're going to establish what Doctrinal Mastery is. This is a refresher, but a deepening of where we already are in the school year. So there'll be 5 lessons in the appendix. This is the one that we're on today. Next, there will be Doctrinal Mastery passages that are taught in context. Whenever you see this icon here, you'll know this is Doctrinal Mastery stuff. So make sure we pause in the curriculum, make sure it's marked, talked about the doctrine a little bit more specifically, and we'll put some emphasis there. The last one is about every 4 to 6 weeks, there will be a Doctrinal Mastery practice lesson just inserted in the curriculum. And so the practice is the key word. We're going to practice seeing how this works in real life. We're going to do some review and things, but I love this icon. This is really the vision of it. As students engage in regular practice with Doctrinal Mastery, faithful responses, the lenses, the way we see it, will become natural and instinctive. And so we're trying to do Doctrinal Mastery enough that it becomes the way we see, the way we respond, the words that we use, the explanations, the thinking patterns that we have match the doctrinal truths of the gospel of Jesus Christ. So that's the vision for this new curriculum and this year. And so as we go to this first lesson, we're really today just looking at establishing why Doctrinal Mastery. And some of this will be a review, but we all need lots of reviews in life. And so this will be really good. As you know, a great team of people have created some slides for every lesson, and they've essentially just copied and pasted questions from this lesson and put it in some slides for teacher use. The intent is not to suggest that every teacher needs to use PowerPoint or Google Slides with each lesson. And the intent is not to suggest that every teacher should do everything in the order that it is outlined in these in the lesson manual. This is simply a resource for us to use to hopefully save some time and energy, where we can adopt first and then we can adapt to the needs of our students as we go along. So I want to open up this list of slides and just show you how I might adopt and adapt and my thinking as I go through this lesson. I hope this is helpful to you as you will be doing the same thing. The lesson begins with an image of the Salt Lake Temple, but here's my first adaptation. As you know, I think the beginning of class really matters. How we start class. You want to get students awake and alert and talking and smiling and ready to learn. And so I thought I might adapt this by showing this picture, and I think this will be familiar, and say, we're going to start with a quiz today. Raise your hand if you know the answers, or something like that, or stand up if you know the answer, or sit down if you don't know the answer. But let's get kids moving and kind of having a little bit of fun. Say, look at this picture. First question, what is it? And most will know this is the Salt Lake Temple. Where is it? That's kind of funny because it's in Salt Lake, but hopefully we get a smile or a smirk from a dad joke out of that. You could ask, and this is where you can insert whatever you want. Which temples came first before the Salt Lake Temple? This is kind of some interesting trivia because the Salt Lake was actually the 4th in Utah dedicated. And you can do a quick search in Google to find which were first, the St. George and Logan and Manti. But before that, we had Kirtland and Nauvoo. And so we've got 6 temples. And so you can talk about this is how long did it take to build? How much does it weigh? You can use Siri or Google. Like I've got, hey Alexa, how much does the Salt Lake Temple weigh?
Sorry, I don't know that.
Apparently, she did know that yesterday, by the way. But you can have students use their phones. This is a good time to use technology to learn and say, we can find good things using technology too. What's going on with it now? And this is where we're getting to the here and now. And so we're just starting with a quiz, having some fun, we're getting to this idea of there's foundations we need to strengthen. And that's what Doctrinal Mastery is going to be for us, is this foundation that we strengthen. And so I like this video. You can see on the slide, you've got to download it. You click on this and then you can download it and insert it to watch the video and see what President Nelson sees as he looks at the foundation. I like these questions. In the red, I've identified where I made some adjustments. This is going on right now, so I made it current. Why do you think so much time and resources are being devoted to this? And then this is the big comparison. So how might we compare what was done to the temple, or what is going on in the temple, to what we need to be doing in our lives? And you could edit these and change out the red, but I'm just highlighting what changes I've made. This is an important part to slow down on and to say we need a strong foundation. Sometimes we need to update our foundation. Sometimes we need to evaluate our foundation. If we can take some time here, we're going to really highlight Doctrinal Mastery is going to be a blessing for us. And so we're going to go to Helaman. I like always saying, if we're going to read a verse, have students individually look at it on their own and mark truths and principles. And then that's the automatic question. What did you mark? What stood out to you? We're just establishing that when we build our foundation on Christ, good things happen. We find strength. And so all these questions, you might even delete these because you're going to talk about them just by asking, what did they mark? Hopefully, though, we get to this is the bolded idea that if we build our spiritual foundation on Jesus, we cannot fall. That's what we're trying to do. And this is where we start to transition towards Doctrinal Mastery. You notice, though, there's a couple more slides. So you can decide if you're ready to transition at that point. Like this question, maybe we've kind of answered that. So we don't need to keep asking the questions. So the curriculum does a good job at making sure we're highlighting things, but you'll decide if your students have talked about it already, if they've highlighted it. We don't need to re-ask questions like this. And so I do like the President Nelson quote in the curriculum, though. But I like an activity. Anytime we're reading a quote, if we just read this and say, hey, let's just read it and say, what do you think? That's kind of empty. But maybe you could have them read it on their own. Anytime they read it on their own, students are asked to use their agency to act and do things. So I might say, I'm going to ask you students to read this on your own, but would you just decide what's the most important phrase in this whole quote? I'm going to give you 40 seconds to read it, and then I'm going to ask you what the most important phrases are. And we'll have different ones. So let them know there's not a right answer you're looking for. But then again, all you've got to do after that is say, let's find out what's your most important phrases. You can call on somebody that you know read it and say, Bill, what did you think was a really important phrase? Susan, how about you? What about you, Caitlin? And so we've got that discussion. So you may, after they share those things, some of these questions in the curriculum, you may not need to ask because your students have already kind of talked about that, because they've shared why they've thought those phrases were important. So you could decide if you just want to delete some of these and not really use these because you're good. Now, this little section, you may love these. I do sometimes too, but some of these, rate yourself on these phrases. I feel like we're kind of ready to go to Doctrinal Mastery here. And so I might skip this or get back to this, because this is this evaluation of where I am. I don't want students to feel guilty or feel like, whoa, wow, I'm lame. I might jump right to Doctrinal Mastery and say, we're going to see how Doctrinal Mastery can really help us strengthen our foundations. And so I might go straight to the video even before that. The video kind of matches what's in here. So we can sometimes see that there's some duplication when we're asking so many questions. So I might jump right to this video and say, we're going to watch a video and see how Doctrinal Mastery can help us strengthen our spiritual foundations. And so this is a good video. It explains it. It walks through Doctrinal Mastery. And then you can just ask students what stood out. If they didn't highlight something, you can say, let's go to the core document and let's just look and see what the purpose is from this. But I might switch around and just start with the video, go right to the video. And then I might say, as we're finishing class, I want you just to review in your head where you are right now. Doctrinal Mastery is going to help us with this. But as of today, do you feel like you rely on Jesus Christ and his teachings when you're tempted? As of today, do you feel like you know how? And this is not meant to, oh man, I'm a fraud failure spiritually, but just to see where we are and to say, guys, this is going to be a great year because Doctrinal Mastery is really going to help us with this. We're going to have a great experience as we dive in repeatedly and learn the doctrine that helps us to feel peace and confidence and to feel close to our Father in heaven. And so I'd kind of finish up there. I did like in the additional activity section, if you've got time, this could be a fun little activity and to say, we're just going to start with this marking activity. I like that one. And so I might say, we're going to mark all 24, have them turn to the list in their core document of the 24. You probably don't have time to do this get to know you activity with it where you're going to talk and get to know it, but you could say, we mark these differently. If it's in paper scriptures, you might, what color do you think you should mark Doctrinal Mastery? If it's in digital, what color do you think you should mark Doctrinal Mastery? But this could be a thing that you do over the course of the week even. Let's mark some of our verses. Let's just make them all marked. But we're starting at the beginning of the year by establishing Doctrinal Mastery is awesome. We're going to mark them. We're going to talk about them. They're going to bless our lives, and it's going to make a difference. So this is my approach. Thanks for watching, and I know that the Lord will bless you with the inspiration that you need as you evaluate the needs of your students and insert your personality into the lessons that you give. You're wonderful. Thanks for all that you do.